Do you have a Commanders question or hot take that you want me to address here on the Commanders Report? Well, now is your chance. Use hashtag Commanders along with your question in the comments section, and if it's juicy enough, we might have it here on the show. I'm going to be answering your questions on this week's mailbag, so let's roll it right now. All right, my name is Jack Sperry. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am answering your questions on today's show, so let's jump right into our first Commanders question today, coming from Brian Twitty, who says, hashtag Commanders make it to the NFC Championship game where they lose to the 49ers 37-33, and Eric Bieniemy stays for another season to win a Super Bowl as the Commanders' offensive coordinator. Now, I love the optimism, Brian. I really, really do. Here's the thing. With the offensive line that the Commanders have right now, if Washington is somehow able to make the NFC Championship game this year and they get that close to making it to the Super Bowl, Eric Bieniemy is going to be the first person on every single team's list for head coaching vacancies next offseason. That's just the way it is. If he's getting this offense to perform that well with this offensive line, that means he's getting extremely creative, and he is an offensive genius, which isn't to say that the Commanders can't be good offensively this year, but personally, I think that maybe NFC Championship expectations might be a little bit too high. Not to say I wouldn't love it if it actually happened, but let's just say Bieniemy has his work cut out for him. Okay, he's coming in here after Scott Turner was fired after the 2022 season, and the numbers just simply weren't that impressive. 24th in points scored, 28th in yards per play, 25th on third down, 25th in the red zone. All of these are in the 20s except for penalties, which was 17th, which is still below average. So you look at this offense here, and yeah, you had Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke last year, and they were both terrible, and you're hoping that Sam Howell is going to be a lot better this season. At the end of the day, Bieniemy has a ton of stuff that he needs to address here with the offensive line, with Sam Howell. Hopefully he can develop here. There's just so many questions that need to be answered here. And listen, if Bieniemy can answer those questions, sure, I think he's going to be a head coach in the National Football League. But I think that if you're gearing up for NFC Championship expectations here in 2023, you might end up being disappointed at the end of the day. So I want to know your take down in the comments section. Is Eric Bieniemy a top 5 NFL offensive coordinator in the league right now? Type Y if you think yes, or type N if you think no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So here's what's going to happen. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. Answer today's pinned question. Take advantage of that time by giving me a Y or an N down there in the comments. Now, our next hot take here coming in from RS Swimmer 8445, and he says the Commanders will sweep the NFC East this season. Now, that definitely is a hot take, and my reaction to that is that going 6-0 versus the division is tough for anybody because those opponents that you play twice a year, they know you like the back of their hand. They know your tendencies, they know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, and because of that, it's really, really difficult for any team, no matter how good they are, to sweep the division, and especially because the Philadelphia Eagles, arguably the best team in the NFC right now, are in this division. I really don't see the Commanders going 6-0 against this division. If it happens, fantastic. They'll probably win the division if that ends up happening. But let's be a little bit more realistic here. I think that 4-2 is a really good thing to strive for here. I think if you can beat the Cowboys twice, I think that's a very attainable goal. Beating Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott twice, I think that's very doable. Do it on Thanksgiving. Do it at the end of the season, and then split between the Giants and the Eagles. I think 4-2 is a very reasonable expectation. And again, just like the NFC Championship expectation there, if you're going into the season and you're like, we're going to go 6-0 against the division, I think that you're kind of setting yourself up for a disappointment, and I think that 4-2 is more of a reasonable expectation for this year's squad. So now we got T. Watson 259 coming in here, and he says the Commanders fire Ron Rivera mid-season and hire Eric Bieniemy as his replacement. Oh my goodness, man, this is a hot take. But let's be real, guys. I think that this could actually happen. Let's just say that Sam Howell doesn't get off to a great start. You know, maybe the Commanders start off the season 1-5, 1-6, something like that. That's not a prediction, by the way. I'm just saying if Ron Rivera is probably going to get fired because Josh Harris, the new owner, and Martin Mayhew, the GM, are going to want to see what they have in Eric Bieniemy, because he might go be a head coach elsewhere, right? So if you want to see what you have in Eric Bieniemy, I would say fire Ron Rivera if you're out of playoff contention and see what you got in EB and see if you got a future head coach. Now, is this going to happen? I mean, I guess we'll see. I think that if Eric Bieniemy does a good job as the offensive coordinator, I think that this team could really compete for a playoff spot this year, especially if Sam Howell plays well, because you got the weapons, you got the defense. You were 8-8 last year, and this roster is undoubtedly better than it was last season. So I think that there is a chance that the Commanders end up making the postseason. If that's the case, then you got to roll with Ron Rivera for the end of the season. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Who's the coach for the final game of the season this year? Is it going to be Ron Rivera? Type RR if you think it's going to be him. Or if you think Eric Bieniemy is going to replace Ron Rivera during the 2023 season here, type EB down there in the comment section. All right, next one coming in from Brian Twitty here, who says Sam Howell will pass for 3,400 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. And I actually think that this is a pretty reasonable expectation here. This is what it's going to be like if Sam Howell has a breakout season this year, in my opinion. I think that Sam is going to be a pretty darn good quarterback in this league if he can develop the mental aspects of the game, if he can have more consistent footwork, if his his throwing mechanics get better, all these different things. And all the reports coming out of camp right now is that Howell is doing a great job at all this. Apparently, he's a gym rat. He's always working on his game, and that's the kind of guy that you want to be your franchise quarterback. And let's just be completely honest here with Sam Howell. Nobody knows if he's going to break out this season. If you're somebody that's saying, I am 100% sure Sam Howell is going to make it in this league, I think you're crazy. And then also if you say he has a 0% chance of making it in this league, I think you're just as crazy. He's got some really nice arm strength. He's got a really great deep ball. He's a plus runner in the run game. A lot of people undervalue him as a runner, but he's actually quite shifty. We saw that at the University of North Carolina, particularly in his final season there. And I think that Howell could certainly be a franchise quarterback in this league. I actually compared him to the skill set of Jalen Hurts, and that's kind of what I think Howell's ceiling is. If you want to check out my video where I compare Sam Howell's game to Jalen Hurts, I'm going to put the link to that video in the comments and description so you can check that one out. I really do believe in Sam Howell here. If he can have a nice base, if he can have a nice second year here where he shows some nice development, I certainly think that Jalen Hurts could be the type of ceiling that he could hit. So let me know what you guys think about the Commanders quarterback down there in the comments. How will Howell have over or under 19.5 touchdowns this year? Will he get to that 20 mark? Let me know by typing O if you think over, or type U if you think under. Now we've got one from A. Bradley 220 who says Emmanuel Forbes wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. And this is actually one that I have been saying for a while, and I completely agree with. I think that Emmanuel Forbes is a perfect fit for Jack Del Rio's zone-heavy scheme where the corners are playing off. The big knock on Forbes coming out was that he's super slender, he's super skinny, and he's probably not going to be able to survive in press coverage, at least at the beginning of his career while he's still filling out. But in his time with the Mississippi State Bulldogs, he was absolutely a menace. Getting interceptions, taking them to the house as well, had an NCAA record 6 pick sixes throughout his career. He had 3 last season, which is absolutely incredible. He's coming off his best season as a college player. And the instincts that this guy plays with, the acceleration that he plays with, it's some of the best that I've seen a college player on film with. It reminded me a lot of Sauce Gardner, actually. Now, Sauce is a better player. He's got more size to him. He can be more physical than Forbes. But when you're talking about true instincts, ball skills, the ability to take it to the house, I think Forbes is a perfect fit for Jack Del Rio's scheme, and I think that he's going to be really one of the top candidates for Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. All right, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button for me today, guys. Really do appreciate all the support. We're going to have a bunch of great Commanders news and rumors content coming your way here. Next week is the start of training camp, so we're going to have you covered with winners and losers, with cuts, everything that you need to know leading up to the start of the 2023 season. All right, guys, really do appreciate all the support. I will see you guys later, and as always, hail to the Commanders.